Hey everybody, Nick Espinoza, your chief security fanatic here. Don't forget to subscribe. And it's Sunday, so we are doing breaches of the week. And this week in data breaches, holy cow, we've got Discord, Salesforce, Red Hat, Oracle again, Renault, the massive French car company, Comcast is caught up in something, the US Air Force, and on and on and on. But as always, I want to thank the people that sent me some of this info because it always helps me out. And that'd be Sander Slidnerink, Jacqueline Wolf, Scott Smith, and Anna Sorensen. Guys, thank you very much. And please keep sending those tips my way. And with that, let's start huge and go on to Salesforce's ongoing saga. So this is actually kind of insane because the loosely organized group, which has been known over time as Lapsus or Scattered Spider, which pretty cool name, or Shiny Hunters, has basically published a dedicated leak site on the dark web known as Scattered Lapsus Hunters. And I think they can do better. But here's the thing. They've apparently changed their name to Trinity of Chaos. And honestly, that's pretty cool. I'm not going to lie. They're jerks. Don't get me wrong. I'm not fans of them, but man, they know how to name an evil organization. So, threatening to release about 1 billion records from companies, basically, who store their customers' data in the cloud hosted by Salesforce. That is essentially the goal of this leak site. So we are talking about insurance giant Allianz Life, Google fashion conglomerate Kering, Qantas, the Australian airline, car-making giant Stellantis, TransUnion, the credit bureau, Workday, the employee management platform, and on top of it, those are the ones we know. And then that basically Trinity of Chaos started putting out stuff on their new leak site, including FedEx, Hulu, which is owned by Disney, Toyota, Cisco, KFC, IKEA, Marriott, McDonald's, Walgreens, Albertsons, the major supermarket retailer here in the United States, Saks Fifth Avenue, and more. Basically, nobody's responding to this in terms of corporate, comments and all of that. And it's not clear if these companies have basically have been hacked or, if they're simply listed because they've paid a ransom. Like, we don't have basically telemetry. Like, did FedEx just get hit and they didn't pay, or did they pay and that's why they're there? We have no idea. So TechCrunch reached out to a representative from Shiny Hunters, aka now Trinity of Chaos, and said, quote, there are numerous other companies that have not been listed. We just don't know why. And so this obviously is continuing to unfold. Salesforce is not having a good year at this point. Moving on. Let's just get this out of the gate and do our mini segment simply entitled, If You Just Spent Money on Cybersecurity, You Wouldn't Be Getting Sued, You Wouldn't Be Ruining Your Reputation, and we sure as heck wouldn't be talking about you right now. And let's start with Cencora, because they just agreed to pay about a $40 million class action settlement to resolve claims that obviously they failed to prevent breaches of their customer data or consumer data. And so this was from a 2024 data breach. If you received a mailed notice, Cencora is going to owe you $20, $30, whatever it is. Moving on. Hospital Sisters Health System, or HSHS, has agreed to pay $7.6 million to settle their class for a 2023 data breach. And so HSHS benefits individuals who basically got hit between August 16th through August 27th of 2023. So if you're a patient at Hospital Sisters Health System, go get paid. Moving on, Infosys McCamish Systems, they just agreed to a 17.5 class action settlement to resolve their claims and their 2023 data breach as well. So if you're a customer of theirs and you were hit between October 29th through November 2nd of 2023, go get your $20, $30, whatever it is. And so those are the lawsuits that I could find. Honestly, it was a pretty short week, but we've got a lot more than this because now we're once again going to come out huge into real time and talk about Red Hat. Yes, the tech giant, the Linux provider. So they acknowledge that they're investigating a security incident affecting their consulting firm following public claims by a group known as Crimson Collective. Again, pretty good name. That basically they gained unauthorized access to internal repositories and obtained sensitive customer data. So while Red Hat did affirm the breach, it also said it has, quote, no reason to believe, end quote, that its core product services or software supply chain has been affected or compromised in this attack. Now, the attackers basically shared their claims on a Telegram channel launched on September 24th of this year, and to support their assertions, they posted full file directory listings, a list of supposedly stolen CERs, and several additional screenshots. So Red Hat's not having a good week. Best of luck to you. I'm actually a fan of RHEL. Now, for a company I'm not really a fan of, let's go to Oracle. Again this year, my God. So Google says that attackers associated with a prolific ransomware group are sending extortion emails to executives at numerous large organizations after claiming to have stolen their sensitive data from a suite of business software products that have been developed by Oracle. Now, the attackers began sending emails to executives around September 29th. The emails were sent from hundreds of compromised accounts, including one used by a known financially motivated cybercrime group known as Clop. You might remember them from the Log4j disaster from a couple of years ago. Not a fan of those guys. Bad name, by the way, too. So, according to Bloomberg, the attackers used compromised user emails and then abused the default password reset function to essentially gain credentials for the Oracle eBusiness Suite web portals that are accessible from the internet. So eBusiness Suite by Oracle, it's a set of products that basically were developed by Oracle to help customers manage their databases, employee information, human resources files, all those kinds of things. So Oracle says on its website that thousands of organizations around the world rely on the eBusiness Suite to run their company. So we're going to see how many companies get hit. But Clop has been pretty prolific over the years, and man, did they get everybody breached with Log4j. So this could be a really bad one. Basically, and we're not even talking about the one that Oracle had earlier this year that got a whole bunch of companies impacted and affected. And I'm still occasionally getting those that I'm reporting to you here on Breaches of the Week. So absolutely nuts. Moving on, let's head on over to Harbor. Just Harbor. So they sent out a press release on September 30th to inform patients, employees, and board members that they had a data breach at the end of July and went into the beginning of August. Now, according to their press release, Harbor was alerted to suspicious activity on August 1, and so here we go, right? So this occurred between July 25th through August 1, and all the PII and PHI you can think of, names, address, dates of birth, social security numbers, driver's license, other state IDs, medical diagnosis, treatment information, clinical information, financial account information, health insurance information. If you sneezed at Harbor or you docked your boat there, they probably have it too, although they do look medical. So heads up to you. If you're a patient at Harbor, I assume it's not on the water. Moving on. Let's head up to Canada and talk about an airline giant up there, WestJet. You might have heard of them. They're huge. Now, they're informing customers that their cyber attack disclosed in June compromised the personal email of about 1.2 million customers, including passports and ID documents. WestJet, as I mentioned, is a major airline here in North America. They've got 153 aircraft in 104 locations, and they move 25 million travelers every single year. That is not a small airline. So, on June 13th, the company disclosed this incident and said it disrupted several systems, making WestJet, specifically their app on your phone, unavailable to flyers. So threat actors breached them by using social engineering and basically reset an employee's password and gain access to their Citrix infrastructure. So never a good look, but heads up, if you're flying the WestJet, who goes between US and Canada and probably more international destinations, if they've got your passport and ID, you probably got hit. Moving on. Outcomes One. This is a Florida-based business associate like a BAA of health plan. So HIPAA compliance, here we go. They just disclosed a phishing incident that has affected more than 150,000 individuals. PHI was hit. I do not have a list of that, but heads up to you if you have anything to do with Outcomes One in the state of Florida. So with that, let's head on over to Idaho and talk about Emergency Responders Health Center. They experienced an email breach affecting 1,528 individuals, including roughly 500 of those being in Washington state. So heads up Washingtonians, specifically if you're on the eastern border near Idaho. Unusual activity was identified in this email's account. This is an employee email account, obviously, on April 11th of this year. It's also a PHI hit. I do not have more information than that. So let's move on, but best of luck, Emergency Responders Health Center in Idaho. Moving on. Let's talk about Renault. And so this obviously is the French car maker. They are massive around the world. They also have a subsidiary called Dacia that is basically caught up in this. And we are heading to the United Kingdom for this one because customers of Renault and Dacia in the UK have been notified that sensitive information they shared with the car maker was compromised following a third-party provider. Is it Salesforce? I don't know, but they did say this, and I quote, and I will not use an outrageous French accent. We are very sorry to inform you about a cyber attack on one of our third-party providers, leading to some Renault UK customers' personal data being taken from one of their systems, reads the notice. Now, what they've got is full name, gender, phone number, email address, postal address, vehicle ID, and vehicle registration number as well. So, could be Salesforce. We don't know, but man, Salesforce is making the rounds. Anywho, Comcast. Yes, Comcast, the massive media and internet provider here in the United States. The Medusa ransomware gang, it's a pretty decent name, posted its demands on Friday, September 26, claiming to have breached Comcast and basically giving Comcast 2 weeks to respond. But here's the thing, because it turns out there was no such breach. Comcast doesn't recognize the data, and they say it belongs to somebody else. So, a cybersecurity analyst, Dominic Alvieri, basically said this looks like it's stolen data belonging to an insurance company, and I quote Mr. Alvieri, Medusa breached California Casualty Insurance, CALCAS.com, and basically they did not breach Comcast, according to them. So, here we go. Comcast is saying it's not ours, new data, who dis? And apparently it might be California Casualty, so attackers get it wrong. We've actually caught cases of that. We had one out of Australia where they had reached out to the company saying, yes, like we hit all your software development, like all this kind of stuff. We had clients go into panic mode. And so we started doing research only to find out that the data that we were reviewing was actually from a company with the exact same name in that country, but it was a travel agency, had nothing to do with tech. So there you go. It does happen. Moving on, the U.S. Air Force. Aim high, right? So the U.S. Air Force is reportedly investigating a potential data breach caused by a Microsoft SharePoint issue. So the report, basically coming from the Register, revealed that the Air Force Personnel Center Directorate of Technology and Information issued a data breach notification shared on social media. And I quote, this message is to inform you of a critical personally identifiable information and protected health information exposure related to USAF SharePoint permissions. As a result of this breach, all United States Air Force SharePoints will be blocked Air Force wide to protect sensitive information. So there you go. If you are in the Air Force, have been in the Air Force, or have anything to do with the Air Force, you might want to check in some way, shape, or form. Best of luck to the USAF. And with that, we have one finally for you today, and this ain't a good one. And I wanted to do this one specifically because this platform, while it caters to a range of a whole bunch of people, and we've seen people, interestingly enough, leak sensitive information like military classified info on it, this one's a bad one, and I think it's bad, but it also underscores a problem that we have with age verification standards and laws in places like the UK or here in Mississippi. So we are going to be talking about the communication platform Discord, favorite of the youth. So, as reported by The Verge, Discord has announced that one of its third-party customer service partners was recently compromised by an unauthorized party. I don't know if this is Salesforce, but let's keep going. So Discord stated that basically this organization was trying to extort a financial ransom. So while the attackers did not gain access to Discord directly, some users' data was basically hit by the breach, specifically data shared with Discord's customer support and trust and safety teams, including government IDs shared for age verification. So, Discord stated in a press release that anyone impacted by the breach will be contacted soon over email. So, the types of data that are at risk, according to Discord, are names, Discord usernames, email addresses, contact information, payment types, last four digits of credit cards, but not the CVV codes or full credit card numbers, purchase history, IP addresses of where you're coming from, messages shared with customer support, and quote-unquote limited corporate data. But the most concerning data that is caught up in this is obviously government ID images that Discord had shared with this third party for age verification purposes. We're talking passports, driver's license, all of that. Remember, you can be under the age of 21, at least here in the United States, and have a driver's license. You know, in my state, Illinois, most kids are driving at 16 years old, or they might have provisionals in some states at 15, meaning they're probably using Discord, and if they're verifying their age that they're over 13, because that is the COPPA law here, COPA law, then yes, we would have minors' personally identifiable information cut up in this as well. So Discord added, and I quote, and this is important, if your ID may have been accessed, that will be specified in the email you receive. end quote. In other words, check your email for Discord stuff. It may not be junk mail. They may be actually notifying you of a data breach. Now, notably, no passwords, authentication data, or messages, quote, beyond what users may have discussed with customer support, end quote, was compromised in this breach. In other words, if you're in your Discord channel, talking with your friends or gamers or whatever, that's not what got hit. Again, third party, it's looking like it's their support side of the house. Discord also stated that it has revoked the impacted customer support partners' access to its systems, which obviously makes a lot of sense. So if, for the record, you have not shared info with Discord's customer support team, odds are you're not going to be impacted by this, but you definitely want to do things still like change your passwords and whatnot, because we may not necessarily know how far these attackers got in. Remember, breaches can evolve or change, or they can go dormant, and by virtue of that, lay in wait as the dust settles and then kick right back up again. So this breach, for the record, comes only 6 months after Discord started requiring age verifications in some regions. So, for example, and I've talked about this on my radio show and podcast, video, all this kind of stuff, the UK Online Safety Act, basically, which requires age verification law across the United Kingdom, and then users obviously are finding ways around that. This is a whole big issue that the UK has. Some states have also passed verification laws. Like I mentioned, Mississippi is one of those. I believe Utah's on the way to that as well, and some other states. And so this data breach at Discord makes it very clear here why people around the world are concerned and frustrated by these policies. Now, even beyond the risks of just censorship, there are clear risks involved in giving, basically your biometrics, a scanned ID plus sensitive data, sensitive data that should be private to you that's on a government ID, and you're giving it to companies that might not have the security to protect this data. And that's part of the problem. Think about this from the Oracle perspective. If you're an Oracle customer using the e-business system and you've done your due diligence, Oracle has all of the certifications for cloud security. They're going to have a SOC 2. They even have a FedRAMP side of the house, which turns security controls up to 11, and they're still getting breached. Breach fatigue aside, because obviously I do this every single week, and you basically hear about data breaches constantly. Like, I just stayed at a Marriott, they breached me again, like that kind of thing. This really speaks, though, I think, to the deeper issue here that we have, and that is the erosion of trust that we are going to start to have. You're using Discord, you might like using Discord, but if Discord isn't doing their due diligence, or even if they are and they're basically their vendors are lying to them, that's the problem that we have with this longitudinally. So age verification laws increase the risk of you having something like a driver's license or a passport exposed to the internet. That's of deep, deep concern, not to mention the fact that governments have so much stuff on you. The nice part historically about the United States is that we don't have a national ID, and government has been compartmentalized by department. So, for example, if one department gets hit and has some of my information, they may not have all of my information. That obviously seems to be changing right now, but we're going to see what happens there. So, I say all that to say, those were your breaches of the week. What we lacked in quantity, basically, we definitely made up for in quality, and I really hate to say that, but best of luck to us all. And please like, share, follow me here on Facebook and Twitter at NickAESP, and please feel free to subscribe to me at YouTube as well. And as always, stay safe, stay online, and please, please, please attempt to stay private, informed, and secure. Take care.